Hello, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Bear with me here, Nate. Your intro, every time I try to pronounce your name, I tend to overdo it and get myself tongue twisted. So let's see how it goes. Today, we are doing my thoughts on the Denver Broncos with Nate Polvogt.
Yes, very good.
Awesome. I got it. I'm sitting there every time I seem to switch the V and the L around and get myself all tongue-tied in a mess, and it never works out. But thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to get to talk some Broncos today.
I don't know if anyone said that last year about the Broncos, so I like your optimism. You want to take a second here? Tell everyone where they can find your work.
Can you hear me, Aaron?
I can hear you. You were frozen there.
All right. I don't know what happened. In between media, you can find me. I'm the lead Dynasty analyst over at Rasball. I write for Fantasy Pros these days. I've got tons of Dynasty content coming out over there as well.
Yeah, no worries. I don't know what happened there. It was real fun, though. It looked like your camera caught up, and then you said that all in like super speed. Your mouth is like that. So that's going to look really cool later in the podcast. But all right, well, let's get into it then with Denver. We have a pretty boring quarterback room here. Russell Wilson hoping to rebound after a disappointing 2022 season, and Jared Stidham, who's clearly the backup, but did show he had some useful games last year with the Raiders if he's ever thrust into play. What are your thoughts on Russ here and whether or not he's able to rebound with Sean Payton now at the helm?
You know, I think Sean Payton is a guy who's going to get the best out of every player on this team. And that includes Russell Wilson. We saw him kind of rebound once they got rid of Nathaniel Hackett last year.
Yep.
He played considerably better down that stretch run at the end of the season. And I think we're just going to get more of that, if not even better, out of Russell Wilson, especially with the parts that they've got around him. I mean, you look at this receiving core, they added Marvin Mims. That's just another weapon down the field. And we know Russ likes to spread the ball around, and he likes to spread the field. And I think the Sean Payton offense is going to allow him to do that. Now, do I think he's going to be a top 12 fantasy quarterback? Probably not. But if you're in super flex leagues, he's a guy that I would like to have, especially given his ADP right now is pretty low.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good value at where he's going.
He's someone. Okay, so I'm a Saints fan. Sean Payton is by far my favorite coach of all time. The thing that worries me here, I bought in on this offense being a rebound, Sean Payton being a guru and whatnot. But somewhere in the back of my head as a Saints fan, there's that notion of what if it was all Drew Brees? Because the years without Drew Brees, Peyton wasn't nearly as good. I don't believe it to be true, but I haven't ruled out the possibility that maybe it was just all Brees. What do you think?
Yeah, I could see that. But you can say that about like Bill Belichick at this point too. Like it was
Fair
all Tom
enough.
Brady. But when teams lose a marquee quarterback, they're going to be speed bumps. It's inevitable. We saw it in Denver with the Broncos when John Elway retired. Mike Shanahan couldn't get anything going with that team. Yeah. Same thing with John Fox when Peyton Manning left. So I hear what you're saying, but I do believe that I think he's going to be successful in the Sean Payton offense. As a Broncos fan, I guess I just have way too much hope, maybe.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. I love Peyton, favorite coach. And to be fair to him, he also lost his best receiver for the majority of that time without Brees. Thomas just fell right off the face of the earth. So I believe it too. I've got shares of Wilson, Javonte, a ton of Pirine, and even the three receivers here we've gotten. And I did this again. I hadn't, if I just, as I'm reading through the depth chart, I had a formatting error. And for some reason, Jaden Reed keeps coming up on my Denver Broncos list. This is the second time it's happened and it drives me freaking nuts. But anyways, we'll move on to the running back room before I lose my mind over that. We've got Javonte Williams here with Samaje Perine and Tony Jones. As I said before, I have a ton of Samaje Perine. I've looked at Javonte Williams. I think this is going to be a lot slower road to recovery than everyone expects. I think this is going to be like J.K. Dobbins last year. Might not be back till week 8, and when he is back, it's going to take a long time to ramp up. I'd like to see impatient dynasty managers this year and buy him low in hopes of using him week 1, 2024. But I've got a ton of Perine because I think at very least through 6 weeks, you're going to see just loads of Samaje Perine, and he's pretty much free. What do you think?
I'm with you on Perine. I've got a ton of shares of him as well. I'm with you on Javonte. If he plays this season, it's not till week 7 or week 8. We're not hearing anything else from the franchise. Nobody's saying he's going to be ready to go week 1. And even if he is, we see what happens to these players when they come back from this type of injury, this type of knee injury. They're really slow to get back to form because there's no explosiveness, because you're still kind of scared to test the joint, if you will, which I get. I've torn an ACL. It's not fun recovery. That said, I think Perine is the guy in this offense in 2023. The team definitely signaled that by not taking a running back in the draft. And while we've heard that maybe Kareem Hunt comes to Denver, there's been some chatter about that. Even if he does, they're two different kind of backs. Yeah. And I think that Perine has shown that he is talented, and he was able to really do some stuff in Cincinnati when called upon, especially last season. And the dude he catches balls. He's a fantastic receiving back. Tony Jones is probably the number 2. I mean, he's a Sean Payton guy coming from the Saints. But this backfield will be Samaje Perine's backfield in 2023.
Yeah, Javonte just scares me. Like, I know I'm not a professional athlete, but about 10 years ago, I broke the bones in this forearm and had some hardware put in. And just playing like rec league softball and hockey, I was terrified to even take a hit on this arm. Just you guard it instantly. And I can only imagine how hard it's going to be to get back up to full speed with 300-pound linemen trying to kill you. So,
yes.
Long term, I like Javonte, and I want to get him cheap when people panic. But for redraft, give me all the Samaje Perine you can get. Moving on to a wide receiver room that could be the best in the NFL or could be a total dumpster fire. Like, there is talent here. Jerry Jeudy flashed like he could be a Pro Bowler. Same with Courtland Sutton. They both battled injuries. Then we have Tim Patrick, who also battled injuries. But when healthy, has proven he could be a solid wide receiver 3 on this team and a solid flex in fantasy. We've got Marvin Mims, not Jaden Reed. And then we have KJ Hamler and Marquez Callaway. Callaway, that name's familiar. I feel like we have another Sean Payton guy following him here. He was the hype train preseason last year with everyone out. Never really did anything with nobody in front of him in New Orleans. And he ended up losing the job to Rashid Shaheed. So I feel like he can be pretty much ignored. Marvin Mims, I loved him at the beginning of the pre-draft process. This landing spot scares me. I like the talent. He's going to have to beat out one of these guys. I think he can do it, but he's someone I'm looking at more long-term in Dynasty. You know, the rumblings are they're going to move on from Jeudy or Sutton. What do you think of this room? It's kind of a mess. It's kind of confusing.
So I think the Marvin Mims pick is more of an indictment on Courtland Sutton, because Sutton the last 2 seasons has been wide receiver 44 and wide receiver 43 in PPR. That doesn't cut it in a Sean Payton offense for a guy that needs to be, or was projected at some point to be, the alpha receiver on this team. Yeah. He's shown he's not that. However, what we saw Jerry Jeudy do, again, once Hackett was gone at the end of last season, he took off. I think he was the overall PPR wide receiver 4 from, I think it was week like 12 on, 13 on, something like that. And I think it also shows that, you know, they're gonna throw the ball downfield. I mentioned it earlier. Marvin Mims is a guy who can get downfield quickly, but he's also a good intermediate target. And we know how much Russell Wilson likes those intermediate targets. Mims is a guy he's probably going to work mostly out of the slot. I think this pushes Jared Jeudy out wide, and then some combination of Courtland Sutton or Tim Patrick on the other side But it should be noted too, Sean Payton, his last season in New Orleans, he ran 4 wide receiver sets on 11% of plays, which was 10% higher than the league average. So it's something he likes to do. And getting Marvin Mims in this wide receiver room makes that more possible. KJ Hamler, love the talent. Guy can't stay on the field. He's fragile, and that's an issue.
He's out again, didn't he? Just
He may not be ready to start the season. So, and like you said, I mean, Marquez Callaway is just a guy. He's nothing special. He got beat out by Rashid Shaheed last season. I'm excited about Jerry Jeudy. I think there's a chance that Jerry Jeudy is finally a top 5 fantasy asset at wide receiver this season. I'm selling Courtland Sutton where I can sell him because I don't think we're going to see it. I just don't think we're going to see it. And then with Marvin Mims, I'm a little nervous, especially with the Peyton comments about how he's such a good kick returner and punt returner. That makes me think that possibly that's more where they're going to focus him in his rookie season. But you're getting him in late second, early third round in dynasty rookie drafts. That's a small price to pay.
It's lower than that since the landing spot.
Yeah.
I had a 3-round draft the other day. He went undrafted, and I've seen him. But yeah, I think I'm going to have some Jeudy, Sutton, Patrick, and Mims, but I think this is going to be an offense, regardless of who you take of the 4. It's going to be frustrating, and it's going to be inconsistent. One person's going to go off the one game, and then the next game it'll be somebody else. I like a lot of these guys better in best ball. If I have to pick, I think I'm going to have Jeudy. But moving on to an interesting tight end room, they seem to bring in a new guy every year, a new guy that looks like he has potential, and then he gets pushed aside. So originally, it was Albert O, who everyone was high on, and then he got pushed aside by the rookie Greg Dulcich, who looked like he really had potential last year, especially towards the end of the season. And then what scares me for Dulcich, if you're a Dulcich owner, Sean Payton brings over Adam Troutman from New Orleans. And if you know anything about Taysom Hill, you know Sean Payton will ride his guys right off the cliff if he likes them. So I'm worried that Troutman, I like him, very talented. I'm worried he's probably going to ruin Dulcich and Alberto.
Yeah, that's very fair. The thing about Troutman is between these 3 guys, he's 100% the best blocking tight end. And I believe that's why Sean Payton wanted to go get him. Something Denver didn't do well last year was protect Russell Wilson. The guy was under pressure on his back all year long. So if you can add that elite blocking tight end, 6th offensive lineman, essentially, he's going to get a lot of snaps. And I do think it hurts Dulcich, but I also think Dulcich didn't get a ton of snaps last season. And there were still points where he was fantasy relevant because when he's on the field, he's being targeted. And I think that will continue because he's the better pass catching tight end of these 3. Alberto's right behind him. But I think that their wide receiver room dictates that I don't know that Peyton's going to use tight ends that much. I don't know that this offense is going to use the tight end on passing downs other than as a 6th offensive lineman.
There are a ton of mouths to feed in this offense, especially even more if Javonte's healthy. If these guys all stay healthy, there's just not going to be enough ball to go around. So the only one who's really going to become a value is whoever stays healthy if other people go down. Based on some of the early best ball ADP and what should eventually be redraft ADP, who is a player you think you would be targeting in this situation here on this team?
Well, Jerry Jeudy for sure. And where you're getting Samaj Pirine, I mean, his ADP is fantastic. It's kind of a steal. So I've got a lot of Samaj Pirine as well.
Yeah, you convinced me. I had tons of Pirine. Just like I said, I think people are underestimating just how bad the Javonte injury is, and they're assuming he's going to be ready to go week 1. And I don't. Same with Breece Hall. They're saying Breece Hall week 1. I don't think Breece Hall's even close for week 1. But so that's why I've loaded up on Samaje Perine, and you've kind of convinced me on Jerry Jeudy here. So I think I will be acquiring some more Jeudy shares anywhere I can, especially at a discount. On the other side, who's someone you think is going to be too expensive, who you're going to avoid? Javonte, maybe?
Probably Javonte, if people are, because he's still going with 2nd, 3rd round in a lot of best ball drafts, which is crazy to me with the injury. But if he were to slip, we get news where, he's not going to be ready to start the season and that ADP falls, I'm willing to go after him at that point. But another guy I'm kind of staying away from really is Courtland Sutton. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't be so down on the guy. And he's going wide receiver 40. I mean, he's the 94th player off the board, but that's still too rich for me because I don't think he can even live up to wide receiver 40 in this offense.
I've rostered him in, I think, consecutive years now. And has Judy been hurt in consecutive years or just last year? Yeah. Okay. In both years, he's been great with Judy out of the lineup. And then I made the mistake of, oh, you know what? Judy's going to come back. He's still going to get his fair share. I'm not going to sell him. I should have sold him because both times when Judy came back, right into the ground, just right off the face of the earth, and he was completely unplayable. So if Judy's healthy, I am staying the hell away from Cortland Sutton at all costs. Last year, they were 14th in the AFC. Where do you see them finishing in their division?
I think they could finish second or third if all goes well with this offense. I mean, we know the defense is really good. The defense was good last year, and they've made upgrades. They really upgraded in the draft on the defensive side. I really think this is a team that could come in second behind the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to beat the Chiefs out for the division, but I think they could come in second behind the Chiefs.
Final question, a 5-win team last year, over, under, or the same this year?
Oh, over. Definitely over. Got to be over. I'd even take them maybe over 10 wins.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's the theory. It's funny because everyone overestimated them last year, and then that offense completely crashed. But now everyone's written them off like it's not the same team as last year, basically. The Javonte Williams health scares me a bit, but I think Peyton probably helps them right the ship here. And I don't know if I'd go 10 wins, but I definitely think they're an 8 or 9 win team for sure. And they definitely could make some noise there in the AFC.
They're going undefeated, Aaron. They're going undefeated.
Naturally, someone from Colorado and someone with a Detroit hat on aren't going to see eye to eye, I think. So, all right, Nate, thanks again for joining me. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. This was a fun time.
It was. All right, everyone. That was my thoughts on the Denver Broncos with Nate Polvogt. 2 for 2. Yes. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thank you, Nate, and thanks everyone for watching.